Thanks for everybody being here today. There's a lot going on in education. Right when everybody was first logging in, I was sharing there's some interesting articles coming out of Idaho today related to critical race theory and some legislation that's going through, but also some pushback from the students. And so just a real interesting time to kind of see what's going on in other places, comparing to what's going on in California. But thanks everybody for being here today. We are a small but mighty Thursday group. I wasn't sure how it would go meeting on a Thursday instead of a Friday, but we do know quite a few colleagues are on the compressed 4-day schedule this summer. So it was an attempt to be respectful of them. Let me go ahead and share screen. And we're going to go slightly out of order today. One of the COP leads is planning to be on and her air conditioning has broken down. And so we're now texting, going back and forth, going, here's what the announcement is, just in case I'm not on. And anyways, you know, we're always trying to make it work. So thank you everybody for being here today. Appreciate you. Let's go ahead and just do some super quick introductions. So that way we're all on the same page of who's on today. Renee Marshall here. I am coming from no specific college. I am not tied to one anymore. I am my own entity, and I happily try my best to serve our group and bring us together every single month. So I'm happy to be here. Sharon, why don't you go second?
I'm Sharon, and I'm from Coastline, and I've been involved with teacher prep since the TRDP, and we continue on, and with money, without money, and that's the way it is. But we've always been online, and so we're facing a lot of, I would say, competition, you know, with enrollment, because we used to be the one and only, you know. Anyway, good to see everybody.
Good to see you, Sharon. About Kate, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kate Williams-Brown from Skyline College. And there's a couple of people I just want to do shout outs to. Hi, Rosemary, and hi, Janet. Woohoo! Janet and I, since I'm from Skyline College, and Janet will tell you all about herself, she and I had affiliations for a long time, and then we got out of each other's orbits. So it's really nice to be back. I have a conflict of another meeting, but I wanted to be here to be supportive of ACTEP and you, Renee, who has really supported our field all along. Little short thing, like you said, lots of things are going on. The governor of Colorado now said today he's pulling together all the financial supports to have universal preschool by 2023. Now, that's only pre-K, and it is Colorado, it's not California, but I just thought that was really good news, which I got from a kid that I used to teach, who's now a grown-up in Colorado.
That is awesome, Kate. Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love that when our colleagues, it like turns into this, our students turn into our colleagues. It's so surreal, but great. Janet, why don't you go next? It's good to see you today. You're still on mute. I love how I put it up here like we're on a phone.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
So Janet Young from El Camino, but the real warriors and superstars at El Camino are Yadira and Bobby. I just always want to come to this meeting, and there's always a conflict. So I'm here to be a fly on the wall. As Kate said, we go back with the teacher ed program as far back as the TRDP and funding and not funding and stuff like that. But really it's been Bobby and Yadira who picked up the torch and have carried it further. And hi, Sharon. We go way back to the Cal State Long Beach days, and Yadira and everybody else who's on here. So I'm here to listen and learn.
Glad you're here today. It's great to see you. I love when we go like OG and we're all talking about the back in the days. Because I mean, I still like, if I went back in my old office, there would still be the binders from the beginning of, you know what I mean? We had all the binders and we kept everything, and yep. It's crazy the history of TPP and what we do. Thanks for being here today, Janet. Yadira, do you want to go next?
I was going to say, Janet, I'm so flattered. Every time, it's like I look up to you. So anytime that you say thank you to me, I'm like, oh my goodness, to me, you are phenomenal. You already know it. Such a beautiful person, and the students just absolutely love her. But thank you everybody for being here. I am Yadira Arellano. I am with both El Camino College, and I work also at Rio Hondo College. But really, I do want to give a shout out to Renee today as thank you, Janet, for that amazing recognition. But Renee has been putting a lot of the stuff together as well. She's just, I call her the opera of education. But thank you, Renee, for everything that you do. And the co-ops have completely changed just everything in the ECE and education.
Thanks, Yadira. I appreciate that. The co-ops have had such a positive impact. It's really awesome. Leia, do you want to go next? I thought Leia was on vacation, so I'm a little surprised that she's here right now.
I am on vacation, but it's okay.
I'm sorry, Leia.
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm Leia Martinez, and I'm from Rio Hondo College. And I didn't catch the beginning of that conversation, but I don't know if I got the gist of it, but I really like the fact that someone is finally speaking out about these things. I think the pendulum has swung so much to the extreme. And, you know, I'm happy that someone is actually speaking out about blaming anything and everything under the sun to the white people. So, I mean, there is definitely systemic racism, but it's not everyone, the white people's fault all the time.
Yeah, there's so much more discussion to have on it, honestly. But I agree with you. The fact that we're at a point where we're talking, that's where we need to be, and figuring it out. You know, where is the balance? Because anytime our education system gets too much of an extreme, like you're saying, it can be a real challenge to remain collective and cohesive. Yadira, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, and I just wanted to share with everybody, I actually had a situation, not a situation, but we had a little discussion in my previous semester. We were talking something about racism, and I was so happy to hear one of my students speak up, and she is white. She considers herself white, but just her perspective on how she has been feeling towards everything going on. And she mentioned that she's like, I'm white, but and it's not my fault. You know, that to me was really profound. And I'm so glad that she spoke up, because I wanted the class to hear, you know, how they're also feeling. You know, we do have students who are white, and it's okay, you know, so just like Leia mentioned, everything that's going on right now, it is okay that we're speaking up about it. I love that we're talking about racism, but let's also be very mindful, you know, how our students are really feeling as well. And so I really love that she spoke out. And, you know, out of my 40 students, she was the only white student. So how she was feeling as well. So I just wanted to share that, because our students are feeling it as well. And I think it's very important that we don't let it go past. Like, we need to acknowledge that too. How are they taking it? How are our students feeling?
Well, and creating the safe spaces for discussion. It's not our purview to tell them exactly what to believe.
Exactly.
It's our purview to present the information as informative as possible, with the hopes that we're sparking even more, you know, investigation on their part. Even if we can just say critical race theory, here's what it is, and give the definition, and then people, you know, take it where they need to and whatnot. But I appreciate having this conversation, because it's not an easy one to have, but the fact that we're having it right now shows that we have a safe space here, because there isn't like an easy answer on this. I know we have a couple more colleagues that need to introduce, so I want to make sure that we include them. Cheryl, I don't think you've said hello yet, and I realize I said good morning and it's 12 noon. But Cheryl and Megan, when you have a chance, if you could say hello and introduce yourself to everybody, that would be awesome.
Sure. And good evening. Actually, it's 8 p.m. here, so happy to be here.
Where are you today, Cheryl?
Johnson. I'm in England right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
So that's fun. Yeah. Education instructor at Fresno City College and program lead, and also ACTEP board member. Nice to see you all.
Great to see you today, Cheryl. And thank you for coming in internationally at 8 o'clock at night. Greatly appreciated. Megan, do you want to come on and say hello? I'm not sure if you're able to today. I can see you're on, but
Sure.
Hi there, I'm here. I'm driving, so I'm just keeping my video off here. Megan Bennett, Clovis Community College. I'm also, I'm the ACTEP treasurer currently, so I'm with Leia and Cheryl on the ACTEP board. But it's nice to see everybody and hear from everybody. And I can ditto what Yadira was saying, how great the communities of practice have been and how much I've really enjoyed hearing each other's struggles and ideas and brainstorming, and just the team component from afar has been really nice. So I appreciate all that work, Renee.
Oh, thank you so much, Megan. And well, and I got to tell you, you know, the superstars are Rachel, Shannon, and Megan. The amount of work that they've done on the COPs, it literally could have been like a whole side job for them. And all of it was 100% voluntary. And so it's been, it's been so different than what we anticipated. And honestly, it's just one of the golden nuggets of the pandemic. I was literally just saying, we need to do a final report on the COPs. Not that the COPs are ending, but we need to do like an official report that we put out, because the field doesn't truly understand yet how much data we have gotten during this time. One of the coolest parts about the COPs is we've been doing surveys from the beginning of the pandemic. So we have different data sets that we are now starting to share out as Department of Ed and CTC and other agencies are kind of in need of field perspective right now. Instead of having to just go into new, we're able to pull some other data for them. So it's been great. We don't have our COP leads on right now, and I know Megan's going to come on in a little bit, so I'm going to wait for her to join us. In terms of the ECE practicum, community of practice, just want to do a real quick update. Rachel and Deanna, I do not think are going to be on the call today, and so I just want to do a quick update. So we're kind of quiet right now.
Renee,
Oh,
I know
yes.
this is, I didn't mean to interrupt, but did Rosemary introduce herself and I missed that?
Oh, no, Rosemary, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rosemary. I think it's because you and I were talking at the beginning. Rosemary, excuse me, Dr. Rosemary, would you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Just so you know, I only put doctor on there for the snotty academics who discount everything I say. So y'all can call me Rosemary, just like my students can. Sorry, I have a chip. It's right here on my shoulder. Can you tell? I'm Rosemary. I teach at both Cuesta College and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And I'm the education lead at Cuesta. I am a troublemaker, and I was just interviewed the other night on CRT in education. And we are under siege here in San Luis Obispo County. Our educators are, and it's very concerning what we're seeing. And the Paso Robles district put forth a resolution that literally listed things that teachers could not teach in class. Like, it was a censorship list, basically. And they were saying that this resolution supported their board policy of not making anyone feel badly about controversial topics, so that we couldn't directly teach anything that would make anyone feel badly. And so my argument and the way I respond to these things is I use their own policy to point out their lack of logic in their thinking. And I'm like, well, then we can't teach any US history at all, because we've been making Black and brown kids feel pretty crummy for the last 400 years. So, let's look at these things and what the real consequences can be if we implement them. So I'm on fire about this. And I think it's imperative that we have these conversations and that people have the opportunity to express how they're feeling. But I also think they can't really express an opinion if they don't have the information. And so I'm all about providing that for them to explore and then to define their own perspectives on it. But we definitely have, we have an obligation to the future students in our state, that are the people that we prepare to come out and teach them understand race and have an ability to talk about it. And that's what critical race theory, the way they use it in the K-12, is not like, okay, today we're going to teach you what critical race theory is and what you're supposed to do about it. It's a way of having these conversations. And so that's been kind of my line pushed forward, is that I'm glad that we're having the conversations. A year ago, barely, we weren't even using these terms. we were afraid to talk about them. And so this has opened up a big door for us to have these conversations. So yeah, that's me. Nonstop on that.
I appreciate that it's opening a door to have frank conversations. I was on with some people that pushed policy about a week ago, and we were talking about what happens if we go into our 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in California being part of our preschool system. If instead of TK through 12, what if it's age 3 through 12th grade? And I basically looked at them, and I'm in this meeting. I said, look, I'm going to just keep it straight. So what happens to our Black boys? Are we going to expel them all at 3 years old in the system? And I wouldn't have said that if we weren't in a situation where we're having these conversations. And it was great because if you look demographically in terms of expulsions in preschool, it's a very specific group that's kicked out. And the best thing about it is the other side of the conversation, they were receptive to talking about it. It was like, you're right. We know this is a demographic we need to pay special attention to as we make this transition. And it's like, good. That's, you know what I mean? It's just like about kind of like that, kind of those extra pieces. And I'm not saying anything's right or wrong, but I will tell you, I think about my own experience in teacher training. And I was trained a while ago, but not that long ago. And I think about one of my master teachers, literally, we were in a school that was 98% Latina. And we had one Black child in my classroom. This was a kindergarten classroom. And she decides, my master teacher, who's teaching me how to teach for a year. I was with her for a year. I was in a program that had 2 master teachers a year each. So 2 solid years. She goes up to teach about Rosa Parks and how Blacks had to sit at the back of the bus. What does she do? She brings a full bus cutout to the front of the room. She makes half of the kids leave circle time and sit in the front of the bus. And then she goes, Andrew, you're Black, so you need to come sit at the back of the bus because that's what used to happen. Andrew, how does that make you feel as a 5-year-old, as the only Black? And I'm sitting in the room like, wow, I'm supposed to do this? Coming at that point from an anti-bias teaching, because it was anti-bias back then. Same exact teacher, same exact master teacher. I watched daily force a Jehovah's Witness child to not only stand for the pledge, which a lot of times we'll say, please stand, but there's no need to, do the other piece to it where you're saluting and no need to say it. But sometimes teachers ask to stand just so with the rest of the group. This teacher required not only that the child stand and officially salute, but it didn't matter that she was Jehovah's Witness. She was required to say the pledge. And I remember as a student teacher watching, she was 6, so she was a little bit older than the rest of the kinders, watching this young girl stand up, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance with tears streaming down her eyes every morning. And my hands were tied. I was tied as a student teacher. I could say nothing. And especially in the dynamic with the teacher I had, I was supposed to clean and wash tables, and I was not meant to have any other impact until the last day of my student teaching experience when she told me, Renee, the reason I worked you so hard and made you do all those cleaning the room was because I was threatened by you.
Oh my God.
I'm like 23 years old in a credential program going, why the hell are you threatened by me? You've been teaching 20 years. Anyways,
but you know what? I just got to say something because this reminds me of 7th grade, Mrs. Thorne, and she made everyone stand up for the Lord's Prayer. And my family believes in separation of church and state, and we're Jewish. My father's a rabbi, and I'm not going to say the Lord's Prayer, but I will stand up and be respectful. And I got detention for this. I mean, these things, they're supposed to stop a long time ago. Or, Jewish kids on Yom Kippur, that some teachers would purposely give tests because Jewish kids wouldn't be there, because even if you're not religious, you observe Yom Kippur. So, this goes back to an experience that it's not just white people, it's not just Black people, it's not, it's a collective experience of people suffering from suffering. And so, so I think that critical race theory or the advertising and the PR, it gets to me so upset because you hear this stuff on TV and you go, oh, is that what they're talking about? And then of course you're against it because it sounds so awful, when in fact it's really not that at all. And it's not a collective group of all white people or all this, because I know who stood up for us when we were younger. Was a minister's kid. I remember he said, no, Sharon shouldn't have to do that. And he stood up for, to the teacher, and these kinds of things happen. And so I don't want to blame every white person or everyone from a certain group. And that's what we're hearing. So anyway, I just gotta add that.
Well, I appreciate it, Sharon. And it just goes to talk, like, we really need to have the conversations where we're unpacking it, not let things, and no matter where we sit on what we agree, or you know what I mean, but just opening it up and creating the space and really having some, well, and when we see injustices, speaking up. And
But
also
you know
really,
what? But okay, so the other thing that's really important is that I know a lot of people who want to speak up, and everyone's talking among friends, but they are afraid to speak up and say, hey, hold on, this is what we mean, because there's some who will just brand it as, they'll pick up their phone, they'll take something out of context and say, oh, that person is racist. And what you don't want is your conversation cut and put on the internet because it's not what you meant. And so people, going around, they don't speak up.
Yeah.
I mean, in here, people can speak up because we're all friends and we know each other. And there's only 6, 7 of us, but people don't speak up. And I think that's a huge problem.
yeah, absolutely.
They don't feel safe. They don't feel safe to speak up.
I know even my own kids, my twins are in 9th grade right now, going into 10th grade. And we went to a black business expo. And my son literally said, he got out of the car and he was like, Mom, I think we're the only white people at this whole thing. And I looked around, I was like, oh, I guess we are. How does that make you feel? And he's like, I just have never been somewhere where I've been the only white person. And I was like, interesting. I mean, I didn't give him anything. You know what I mean? In the true child developmentalist format, I was just like, so tell me more about this. And I just, when we left that day, I said, I hope that you remember that uncomfortable feeling. And then when you're in context where you are the majority, how can you help people who are in the minority feel more included and feel more like a collective?
That's a really good approach.
It was cool too, Sharon, because the Black people at the event, I shouldn't say like the Black people as like one group, but in general, they were so excited to see young white teenagers attending this that they gave them like special attention, like, hey, we're so glad you guys are here. Do you want a free sample? So it was like, at first he was so apprehensive, but then ended up being a positive experience. And I really think it might even kind of change who he is in terms of like when he's willing to have those
I think it's really important. You know what? My first teaching job was in 1970. I go back to Washington, D.C., where I grew up. I am in an elementary school, 6th grade. I am the only white person in the school. And you would just be surprised because I was also the only young person in the school, and the kids loved me. There was nothing, because I was more their contemporary, and you saw what white people are being blamed for. You saw it. People in power just did the same thing to the one white person. So it's a really difficult dynamic, and that we don't discuss it because you might be called racist. It's really, that's like an insult to the whole premise of what we're talking about. Anyway.
I love that you said people of power.
Yeah. Yes.
Because people of power that's a whole different situation, right? Like it's one and it's same, but like that's
but what I'm saying is that we had an unusual situation that the people in power at this school were not white people, and and they weren't so exactly. I mean, this isn't nice to say, but they weren't exactly nice to the one white person who was there, and it wasn't personal. It was just that we don't want white people in our school, and I get that, but that's where I was assigned, and this and that and the other. But then it became an age thing because people became friends anyway, but that was the attitude. It was people who had power all of a sudden became very discriminatory.
Yeah.
And don't usually, and they didn't run the school any better than anyone else. They weren't kinder. I mean, it used to be during the time where where teachers hit kids, and I used to think I would hit a kid, but they did that in the 70s. That's why you kept law and order.
Sharon, in my school, I used to walk in the principal's office. It was a private school though, but she had a paddle on the wall, literally on the wall.
So, you know,
It was right there. If you were in the office, you saw where you would be hit or what you would be hit with. Yeah.
yeah,
You know, education is really complicated.
Yeah.
And we're all in it. You know what I mean? And so I love that we're having this conversation. I really appreciate that people feel safe enough to have this conversation. And I don't think this is the end of the conversation. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate
don't put that recording anywhere.
Well, it technically is recording, but
I know.
if we need to edit or whatnot, we can, or, you know, if anybody feels
I
like.
just claim anything I said.
Well, and it's hard because we're all trying to be good people and do what's right for our teacher prep students. You know what I mean? And in turn, have them do what's right for the next generation. So anyways, more to come for sure. More discussion for sure. But so in going back to the COP real quick for the ECE one, at this point, things are kind of on a hold right now. There's been a lot of work going on with West Ed and some other things within early childhood right now that this summer we've been spending a lot of our time working with them and meeting with them, and then meeting with the Peach and Tri-C ECE collaborative group, making some good progress there. Very, very happy to report, excuse me one sec. If you haven't heard the great news, the mentor program in early childhood has been saved for the next 2 years.
Oh, nice.
Which, how crazy is that, especially given that many of the leads of the program retired due to the program shutting. So we literally have colleagues that have pulled their retirement in order to be reinstated. So it's frustrating that it really looked like it was going away. But at this point, saved for 2 years. Whoop, whoop. We all know the value of the mentor program, so we're excited for that. In terms of the ECE community of practice, the next meeting, we'll probably have a meeting at the very beginning of August to determine what's going to happen for the school year. I do want to let you know that the ECE and the EDU COP leads are coming together at the start of July to do a strategic planning retreat. Where we're really going to be looking at the two COPs and kind of what's the best bang for the buck moving forward. You know, when the COPs were first created, the idea was that each one was going to be a series of 3 meetings where we just figured out what was needed for the pandemic, give the field what was needed and move forward. We learned very quickly that was not the case, and that it was going to be an extended period of time staying together. And I think both communities have been incredibly successful in terms of creating community. And so I hope that they will continue in one format or the other moving forward. One thing I will happily tell you, though, I had recently somebody come and speak to me regarding the COPs, and they said, we want to let you know at the national level, they're talking about how strongly aligned and coordinated the community college ECE and EDU faculty are right now. So I just want to let you know that as a state, we are like, what we've done is giving our state a reputation right now in terms of reach. I will also let you know that we, like, and Rachel and Deanna and everybody, they'll share with you, we get requests all the time now for us to send out certain things through our listservs, because our listservs are like golden. It's like really truly a cross system. And anyways, so some great work happening with the COPs. Even though it's a little quiet right now, we will see them back later as we get closer to the school year. Now, I'm wondering, Cheryl and Megan and Leia, do you want to do the ACTEP update for today? I just put a couple things briefly and put some dates at the bottom, but any other information that you could share would be awesome. Sorry to put you on the spot. If you're not able to, it's okay. But if you are able to, it'd be great. I know.
We're all waiting for the other one other person to jump in instead.
And I'm sorry, Cheryl. I know Megan, or wait, that was Megan. Megan, I know you're driving, so I didn't know if it would be easier for Cheryl or whatnot.
Well, we're still just really trying to push our membership drive, trying to extend some of the deals that we have put out there. The other gals can speak more to, they're trying to build our regions and our region leads. We're talking about our fall convening and what we want that to look like. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now. Ladies, do you have anything more specific to share?
I had heard that after the quarterly meeting we held last month, that some of the regional caucus positions were filled, and that was really starting to like beef up and look like that was going to roll out for fall. Is that correct?
Yes, I was just gonna say that, Renee. We reached out to a lot of people who were interested in becoming liaisons for the regional, for their respective regions, and we got a lot of response. We do need someone from Region A. We're still looking for someone in Region A, and I believe it's Region F, which is I know Michael Wickert, I think. Steve is going to reach out to him, make sure that we have representation from that region. But definitely Region A, we still need someone from there.
Do you know what those regions represent, like geographically?
Not right now, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe Cheryl. Cheryl might know what.
Yeah.
region.
Does Cheryl or Megan know by chance on those regions, or not regions, but yeah, regions?
We can send out the list, a linked list, and it's also on the ACTEP website.
Okay. And then Megan, just a quick question. I thought that the buy one, get one free on the renewals for ACTEP only goes through June 30th, but it sounded like you might be extending that date.
Cheryl or Leia, do you recall? I don't know on the extension.
Okay.
If somebody is in a unique situation where they know they want to join, but it's like, everyone's on summer vacation, we can't get, I'm sure we can work with you.
Okay. Or like somebody has to wait till next fiscal year or something like that.
Yes, totally. Something like that we know it's in the works. Yes, we can work with you.
Okay, great. And then one other thing, I put that the ACTEP fall convening is November 19th. Is that still set?
Yes, that's correct, Renee.
Great. And I didn't see a registration link for it yet, which makes sense because it's June and it's happening in November. But I just put the meetings and events page for ACTEP on our agenda. So that way, when you have a chance, you can check it out and make sure you sign up. I'm sure we'll also send it out as its own to everybody as well. So Megan, Cheryl, Leia, any other comments about Leia or any other information to share about ACTEP today? Okay, we are good. I'm actually going to insert something into the agenda right now that was just came up this morning, which is really exciting. And so, Bobby, would you spend a minute talking with everybody about the system budget and the legislative opportunity that came to us today?
Okay. Well, some of you have seen us do this before, but Cynthia emailed us this morning. There is another opportunity to apply to the 2022-23 system budget and legislative request. We've submitted one of those in the past and we got really close. I know a lot of this stuff is going on at the time, but she sent us all the information we have. The due date will be July 16th, so we don't have much of a turnaround. But we're gonna, ideally, what we plan to do is put together another legislative request so that hopefully we can get some state funding for the TPP programs at our California community colleges, because right now there is absolutely nothing coming from the chancellor's office. And as we've all seen, our TPP programs, trying to apply for strong workforce funds is sometimes a big battle.
Is this your only place for beer, or do you have other craft beer elsewhere?
At the back end of aisle number 8.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
What?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. I'm so sorry. You're hearing me.
I don't have any beer. Sorry.
You could not
I'm
have said
sorry.
a better thing at that moment.
That was really embarrassing, but I'm grocery shopping and yes, I'm buying beer for the weekend. I'm so sorry.
You know what? We're talking about humanizing what we're doing right now. That's just made us all laugh. So thank you. That was good. Now I'm going to want a beer. That's awesome.
So what else was I saying?
Well, just that we have we have this opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't had it for a few years. And like Bobby was saying, the last time we had this opportunity, like it came to us directly. We wrote a fantastic fantastic proposal. I mean, I don't mean to be boastful, but it was strong. We even got to go to Sacramento. We were at the table, like defending it. I mean, we were so close. And then across the board, they decided to take the funding they had to do COLA. And so it like knocked us out. But it knocked pretty much everybody out. So the fact that we are now having it shared with us again is great. Just so everybody knows, the last time we wrote it, we basically took the premise of Education Futures, which at that point we had scaled to 26 campuses from 10. And the idea was we wanted to scale to 52 campuses across the state with TPP supports in place and create hubs across the state that would be like locations where all of our partners could come together for events. And so basically it's like, you know, our bridging education conference that we're having this fall, it's the same idea. Like if we offered PD and we offer conferences, it wouldn't just be community colleges. It would be, we roll something out and then through the hub, through the TPP hub, every partner who's involved in teacher prep in that hub region would be eligible for anything that came out. So it would truly create a cross-system teacher preparation program. I don't know if that's what we'll do now with this next version, but if people are interested in being involved, it's not, I have to warn you though, when we do this, it's like, you got to be ready to roll and devote time like in that moment and be able to do things quick. So, but if anybody wants to be involved in us writing, you know, in the grant application process and not the grant application, excuse me, the budget application process, please feel free to let us know. We absolutely can do it with a larger collaborative. But if you don't want to, but want to be involved, that's no problem as well, because we'll try to include as many campuses as possible. We will not include every campus across the state that's involved in teacher preparation, because at that point we need a whole kind of like different level to do that. Because there's a lot, we've got, 90 some campuses that have child development, and it would be a lot. So to try and scale to 50, 52 would probably be a good amount. So any questions about that or comments, anything on that? That if we get that funding, it would not be until the 23 year. So it'd be like another year from now, a little bit more. Okay, great. But some possibility there. And it was really exciting to get that today. It was like, oh, good, this is going to be fun. Quick turnaround. But fortunately, we've done it before, so we know the process and procedures, which is great. So let's go ahead now. Megan just joined us, so I'm going to hand it over to Megan Komplitsky from Long Beach City College. I believe new department chair, if I remember correctly. And she's going to share with us a little bit just about the EDU COP and next steps during summer.
Hi everyone, sorry to join late, and I'll be hopping off to go to another meeting really soon. So I guess this is a great timing. Nice to see you. As for the education fieldwork community of practice, you remember we met so often last summer during the pandemic initial response, but this summer, because we anticipate continuation of virtual fieldwork in the fall, we are in a really good place just to update the Canvas Commons, which I believe Renee linked to in the agenda. So at the end of summer or middle of summer in July, we will be polling everyone to see what do we need in the fall to continue to support, because the initial creation of this community of practice was somewhat temporary extension of CCC-TPP in order to support virtual fieldwork. So I know that there are some colleagues that are working together. I think Cheryl, are you one of them, Megan? Working on with Shannon Turman on the education Canvas shell that will be shared into the Canvas Commons. And it's kind of like a whole course put into one with OER. And we will also be sharing that through the Canvas Commons 2.0 as Shannon can get in there and do those updates. So we expect fieldwork to be virtual. Haven't heard from the CSU system yet, but I know Cal State Long Beach confirmed they're doing all virtual fieldwork in the fall. So we're hoping to have that and in person at my campus, that is. And I expect others are also going to possibly continue use of the virtual fieldwork collection. So we'll poll in the middle of July-ish to see what the field needs as we kind of wait to gather information and see how things are opening up. So we'll decide whether we want to meet less often, but continue support, choose to pivot to another project instead of that fieldwork response, or if our needs are already met through CCC-TPP at large. Any questions?
Maybe. I do. You know what? I had one student who did all 45 hours, and she put a booklet together, and I mean, it's pretty amazing job she did, and I accept it. And I think anyone would accept it. And I also like that she went to conferences and she had screenshots of many of our colleagues here. The question, I know that I made it so difficult for them to say, okay, no real, I mean, I thought that they could all get into a Zoom class and that it was going to work, but it worked for all of them, but for this one, it didn't work. And she's from an agricultural area in Northern California. And so it was fine. My concern is that in the fall, the schools are going to be open theoretically. Are we going to hear, no, your students can't come in because, well, for various reasons?
Yeah, so far I know from my own experience in attempting to see which districts are welcoming back students, I've either not heard at all or I've heard we're still working on it. We don't know what it looks like. So I know that it's going to be very likely that at the last minute, I convert students to being virtual after trying to get them in person. My campus will require me to go through the whole MOU agreement revision process if our students were to be in a virtual classroom, which we didn't end up doing with the virtual fieldwork bank in the Canvas Commons. But I'm currently working to make my contracts, you know, evergreen. They can be virtual. They can get a district email if they need it. They can do X, Y, Z. And so I do anticipate districts not knowing, and also some community colleges needing to go through a whole contract revision to make that possible. So when we poll folks, maybe it's a good idea to see if there's any updates that should be made over summer to enhance the fieldwork. I don't think there was any major concerns about it. And of course, we can always add. So Shannon and I will make a way for people to get us new information to update into the Commons. And again, there's that other course being created that will be shared, I believe, end of summer. But yeah, I'm with you. We have a lot of questions still, and we hope to have more updates by the time we poll.
I mean, the phone is ringing. I don't even get it. I'm sorry, I can't stop it. I mean, the thing that's concerning is that we don't have MOUs with any schools because we deal with so many districts. And even if we were to do it, it takes like a year and 1,000, maybe it takes a long time for a board to agree to that. So, you know, by that time, you know, the policy of we're not having MOUs because we can't do it. And it's not student teaching, and it's not paid. It's not that it's not going to happen, you know, meaning it's not going to happen. And so are you saying that you have MOUs to every district your students go to?
Well, I know it's in general a best practice, but my district requires it. So I was not allowed to place students in districts because they wanted to sort out things like liability insurance. My students have a big bar to get over because they not only need to work only or volunteer only in an approved school district that we have a MOU or agreement with, but they also have to live scan. They also have to TB test. They also have to take mandated reporter training. They also have to sign a waiver. So at my college, we have very strict requirements, mostly by my college. But I know Renee's always championed the idea of a MOU or contract as the best practice for the liability purposes. The live scan is kind of an extra layer that my district chose. And then a few school districts, like in my case, Long Beach Unified, my largest partner, they require in-house live scan. So my students have to live scan through Long Beach Unified's machine so that Long Beach gets the reports back. But I'm currently working on switching to the certificate of clearance, which all the CTC approved like Cal States have to do because they grant credentials. So that is also a best practice I've learned of, that requiring students to get a certificate of clearance is great. The reports go to the CTC, and the students can take that with them once they transfer. It's valid for 4 or 5 years, and they get the $50 fee on top of the live scan back once they apply for a credential.
And do you pay for that for them?
We are not allowed to pay for the $50 fee for the certificate of clearance. It's seen as a gift, but we can use Strong Workforce or Perkins for the live scan cost, or Long Beach Unified gifts us 30 at this time. It's all pending funding. So there's been times when our students paid as well.
I mean, we're okay with live scan anything. It's just that we don't have the MOU. So I don't know where that leaves us in the fall. I don't know.
So that's a great topic. I know Shannon's always included in the work we've done on that Canvas project, the 2.0 thing with the virtual fieldwork hours. There's also some copies of MOUs and contracts, and that may be something that we work on doing workshops on what should be included and how to get it through. But I have noticed that different K-12 districts have different things they want it to say. Different colleges have different insurance liability limits. Some want to say you can't be their friend literally in the contract about 4 places. Others are like, we didn't even want this. We'll do whatever you need to say.
Do you think it's enough that let's say the college has a liability, our college, your college has a liability form. Is that enough? Or are you saying, I mean, who gives them the liability?
In the contracts I have, the contract states that the district, the K-12, is in charge if it's during their scheduled hours doing fieldwork observation. However, if it's additional time or something, it's not covered by them. If it's on our campus for class, it's covered by us. So, gosh, I think contracts are all public. I'm not sure what you can share, but I think they're all public and board approved. So it's probably, we can look at a variety of them, but I found through my own experience that they're negotiated slightly differently at each campus, and the agreements are much shorter than an MOU. And so most of mine are just called an agreement.
Thanks. I might email you for just show me what it is, but I don't think it will have anything for fall. And so
no, I think fall is as is, but it's a great thing to know that maybe our fieldwork community of practice could pivot from virtual libraries and maneuvering for the pandemic into contracts and other types of best practices.
I mean, the point is, if you work with one district, I can see it, but we work with we work all over California. There's no way that I could ever.
Absolutely. And your campus may feel that you don't need to do that. It all
depends. They don't want to do it, but I've had a couple students who selectively they said, no, you can't do your field work here. You can't do your free labor because we don't have an agreement. And you try and say, but for student teaching, and you try and get out of it. But the point is, my school will say, well, they have to find another school.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, it's very tricky because it's not standardized, and different colleges have different lawyers advising them and different experiences with lawsuits, and that shapes their policy in some ways, right?
Right.
An interesting thing too, and this one's a little different, Sharon, because it's not specifically the region. This is in South Coast Central region, but last month at the end of May, I went to a meeting with the 5 superintendents in my area. And one of the people at the meeting said, so are we going to be allowed, because it was an education nonprofit from the community, and they said, are we going to be allowed back in your classrooms in fall? We want to start getting volunteers back in. And one of the soups, Sharon, was like, absolutely. And I was like, wait, I want to clarify, you're going to allow volunteers? I'm not even talking fieldwork students. I'm talking general volunteers. And he goes, we can't wait for June 15th. June 15th, we open to everybody. And I was like, so in fall, you're going to have your student teachers, your fieldwork teachers. He goes, we've had student teachers the whole time, both when we were virtual and when we went to hybrid. And he's like, and we will absolutely welcome back our fieldwork students and any parent volunteers and any families who want to come back to campus and volunteer. Now, Sharon, I'm not going to lie. He said that, I'm like, my jaw hit the ground because it was like full door open June 15th. And then interestingly enough, the other 4 districts were like, oh, it's going to vary by, district by district. So it was funny because one came full forward and the other ones were kind of like, we're going to see what happens first.
I mean, I see that when my students go to get placed, they go to a family, somebody they know, or they go to their old school or teacher, somebody who knows them and they're in. Somebody who goes straight to the school secretary, it doesn't usually work out, you know, and they want a lot of things that that is required from student teachers, and they don't know the difference. And here, I just can't imagine that many schools did not do much when you talk about you're on Zoom all the time, and how people could have help, you know, running the groups and running the rooms, and they didn't take advantage of this free labor. And you know, you can't catch COVID over the computer.
I don't think people knew how to utilize our fieldwork teachers in the virtual space. I think they were just trying to kind of make it through, you know. So it'll be interesting to see what happens come fall and how different things look, but then also how similar things look.
You know what, you know, in Israel, everyone, you know, they were doing really well. They are now, again, there's another, I mean, we think this is over and we don't know if it's over, because in Israel, they are now requiring indoor masks again. And,
really,
you know, and they've all been vaccinated. It's very scary, you know, and they have a new outbreak. Is it the Delta? India. It's, yeah, whatever it's called. I'm sorry if that's, you're not supposed to say Indian, but it's from India.
No, right now, yeah.
And the other one is the UK one. Okay, so what can I say? So they have, but it's you know, we may not be out of the woods, and it may be that they will need Zoom classes in the fall.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think things are still definitely unknown. But, you know, keeping our communication open as we're figuring it out. If you realize you need a resource and you don't have it, don't try and recreate, you know, ask and see if somebody else has it. And I'll tell you, Sharon, for years, I had some districts, you know, I did the intro to teaching class with the fieldwork placements for 12 years of my career. And I had some years where it was like things were all lined up and I had all my, you know, all my MOUs and other things. I had other years where I had a couple years where I didn't even know I had an MOU with the main district I worked with. It had just been that I was their employee as a teacher. So it made it easier for me to place students with my friends. Like I knew who the teachers were. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years into it, I was like, wait, we've had a contract this whole time and nobody's told me. So then I was able to take what they had created and make it relevant moving forward. You know what I mean? But I also had another district that I negotiated an MOU for over a year and we could not come up to a consensus. And so I finally just said, look, since we can't have an MOU, if I have a student who wants to do their placement in your schools, how do we make it work? And that one district was like, what we'll do is we'll run them through as a volunteer, and they'll be required to do everything a volunteer does in terms of their TB and, you know, their fingerprinting. And so it was like a little bit of a cost for the students, but we could find a way to get them there. But, you know,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense, you know.
It'd be nice if it was streamlined more than it is. That's for certain.
We got a problem, you know.
We have, yeah, it's a lot of problems. Yeah. Well, not problems. Well, challenges. A lot of reasons why we should have more funding to do the work that we're doing, right? Because imagine we can bring people in to help us with all this, you know, and just, anyways, it's proof that we need more resources for certain. Let's go into some regional updates right now and just check and see how your region's doing. Anything exciting going on? I know Bay Area, you guys are like on fire. Oh my gosh, keep hearing all the good stuff about Bay Area. It's really exciting to just hear all the good things that are happening. So any regional updates that the team would like to give?
It's summertime. We're on vacation, aren't we? No, I don't know.
Totally. And it could just be like a graduation update or something like that, Sharon. You know what I mean? Or like for next year, here's what we're thinking, or, you know, something like that.
You know what? Okay. So as many of you may know, is that at one point we were supposed to apply for a third year of funding of the grant that we have with the Orange County Coalition. And my school, in its infinite wisdom, declined the money, and meaning $56,000. And I was very upset, and it went on. And by the time I talked them into undeclining the money, it was too late. They had already dispersed it. However, fast forward, I was told to write a proposal with SWP and internal funding. And I went, oh, I don't feel like doing this. And, you know, we can't run without any money. and be part of a coalition and sit in meetings where everyone's getting paid and you're getting nothing, and doing all the homework. Well, and we get a notice to write the grant on it's due April 5th, and it was spring break and I was leaving town. So first I said, I'm not doing it. They're forget it. I'm just done. But I did do it, and we got the money. So I can no longer complain that I didn't get the 56,000, and they upped it to 75,000 or 68,000. So I will have some funding, and I have a work plan. So I'm very glad it's no longer community service, because you're too stubborn to let the program go.
So Sharon, you got SWP funds? Is that where the 68 comes from?
I believe it came from SWP, but I believe it was it may have been earmarked for Coastline anyway, and they know they owed me because they declined that other money. But it's definitely from career technical education, and it makes sense because I was moved. Teacher education was moved from the regular slot in the hierarchy to career technical education, because that's where my dean moved to. And it's worked out. I mean, we had a meeting last week, and it's on campus, and we're told to bring a lawn chair, a hat, sunscreen, and I guess that was it. It was outside, and it was a really good meeting, and it was really interesting working with the CTE people, because there's always been this hierarchy of who has the status. So it was very good. It was very educational. And I think that teacher education actually belongs there, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
It's great too that you're there now, because maybe you can access Perkins funding and some other funds as well. And it goes along with
that's what I had to do. I had to write two
to bring it all together. And excellent. Well, congrats, Sharon. I'm so glad to hear that you received some funding. I know it's a small amount for what you need,
No,
but
it's good. But I'm a one-person show. It's been like that for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Isn't that crazy how that happens? I think it's fascinating. That's part of the
I came
story.
in at the TRDP, and it was like, and you went to a faculty ranking, you did all that stuff, but you're not full-time. But when has teacher education ever been full-time in a community college? It never has been, because it's the domain of the CSUs. So it's just worked out, but I'm not full-time there, but I'm, the Coastline is very nice to give faculty ranking and other, other perks. So it's okay. Meaning so far.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations. I'm glad that you got some funding.
Thanks.
Awesome. Any other regions want to share? Regions or campuses?
Yeah, I have an identity complex with regions because I live in San Diego. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I work in Orange County, so.
Love it.
Well, I'll share that Cuesta, we have a new dual enrollment at Paso Robles High School. They're going to just love me so much. But intro to teaching at Paso Robles High. So I have never taught dual enrollment before, so that'll be fun. And we also have, she's not here today, but we just hired a brand new full-time faculty member who is part early childhood and then part education. So she will be showing up to this. She couldn't come this time, but she has come with incredible recommendations. I'm excited to get to work with her and for her to meet all of you all. She's excited too. So and then we're ramping up for our ethnic studies course for our ethnic studies for educators. And we did find a part-timer to help me teach that. That's what's going on at Cuesta.
Excellent. I was so close to you just last weekend when I was driving home. I was like, Cuesta, as I'm on the freeway. But we had quite a few more hours to drive, so.
Yeah. Well, I was on the freeway coming back from Long Beach, so we would have passed on the highway.
Excellent. Okay, let's see. Any other regions want to share? Anyone? Sorry, I somehow just lost everybody. Can you guys all hear me and stuff okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So somehow something happened with my Zoom and I like lost everybody for some reason. So, okay, cool. So no other updates? Okay, then let's keep going. I'm excited to share with you that the CCC AOE conference, which normally happens every fall and every spring, is happening this fall, and they're going to do a face-to-face version and they're doing a virtual version. I'm excited to say that TPP, we have submitted proposals for both the face-to-face and the virtual conference. We have a variety of them that got in. We don't know officially if they're officially in yet or not, but they were submitted. And one thing kind of cool, if anybody is planning to attend the conference in Rancho Mirage this fall, it's going to run from Wednesday through Friday, and on Thursday night, TPP is actually hosting a social in a part, like we're doing a party in one of the suites. This is 2 years in the running. 2 years ago, Compton College held a party at this conference. And so the moment I saw they did it, I went and spoke to the organizer and I said, can TPP do it? So we were supposed to do this last fall, and then the conference was virtual due to everything going on with COVID. And so now we get to do it face to face at the end of September, the beginning of October. I just want to let everybody know when we do the party suite, we're going to try and have it be really festive and fun. We are doing it in a way because a lot of people will go to team dinners on the Thursday night, and so it turns out a lot of the teams go to dinners late, and so they asked us to do a 5 to 7 hors d'oeuvres, followed by sweet and savory treats from 7 on. So it should be really a lot of fun. If you live close to Rancho Mirage and you even want to just come over for the party, it'd be great. It's going to be outstanding networking. CCC AOE is the leaders of occupational education, which means the leaders of CTE for our system. And so it's a great conference. It's expensive, but it is definitely a great investment. So you might want to check it out. If you do decide that you go to the conference, or if you're even thinking about attending the conference, let me put it that way. The hotel rooms are already over 50% sold out. And so the conference producer is anticipating that on July 1st, a whole nother set of people are going to come in and book with the new fiscal year. So I would just give a word of advice. If this is a conference that you're thinking about going to, you may want to book a room now and then possibly release it if you decide not to go to the conference. Otherwise, this is a conference that often ends up overbooking, and then you end up getting into an overflow hotel and whatnot. It makes it a little bit more complicated. In the past, this conference holds about 700 people. They anticipate in fall that it will have about 500. So just a heads up, depending on also how you're feeling with going into larger crowds and whatnot right now. They said that basically at this point, all the COVID restrictions are going to be lifted. And so we'll be encouraging, hand washing and anti-bac and all those pieces, but it's not going to be like, assuming everything keeps going in the right direction, it's not going to look like things still kind of look a little bit tight right now. And so it's going to look a lot looser. So if you can join us, please do. Another thing too, I wanted to bring up with everybody before we get into the big bulk of today, which is going to be getting into the upcoming conference. In July, we are set to meet on Friday, July 30th, but we have quite a few of our campuses that are not working on Fridays during the summer. And so I wanted to just bring it up to the group and see if we should move this meeting to Thursday next month also, or if anybody has any opposition to that. So I just wanted to open it up briefly and just get your thoughts on possibly moving the meeting next month to Thursday instead of Friday.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You're cool with it? Okay. Everybody else, what do you think? Should we keep it on Thursday? It's just purely because of summer. So we'll go back to, or we'll survey everybody before we go into fall. Is everybody okay with Thursday? Or, okay, I see Rosemary, I got a thumbs up. Okay. If anybody has any opposition, let me know. Yadira is good with it too. Okay, cool. And I apologize if we have any colleagues that are teaching right now, I apologize because I know it's not ideal on a Thursday, so it's a little tricky. But thank you. Okay, great. So last thing for our discussion today, and I'm super excited. I actually have some announcements too, but at the bottom, but I'm really excited to talk about our upcoming Bringing Education Systems Together to Strengthen California's Teacher Workforce Conference. For those of you that are newer to TPP, we held this conference in 2019 for the first time in August. And we had a stellar conference. We had over 200 people show up in Sacramento. We were at the Sheraton. We had people from every single education system coming together and really collaborating and trying to figure out what we could best do or better do as teacher preparation leads across the state of California. This conference also ended up bringing a lot of really high profile people kind of watching what we're doing, and a lot of partnerships and whatnot. And so last time when we ran the conference, we were really focusing on bringing the education systems together. And so we had Chancellor Eloy Oakley spoke and Vice Chancellor Shinny Weber from our system. We had Marquita from the CSU system. She's a vice chancellor. She spoke. We had Tony Thurman from Department of Education, who's superintendent of the state TK through 12 education. We had Linda Darling Hammond. We gave her an award. Anyways, we had Assemblywoman Christy Smith. It was, like I said, it was a pretty high profile conference. So here's the best part. We're planning the next one, and it's not face to face. For two reasons. One, we don't know what things are going to be like in August. Two, last time we spent like $70,000 on the conference because we didn't want people to have costs. So we took all the cost outside of people picking up their travel. And so, oh, thanks, Christina. It was good to see you. And so this time we're doing it virtual. There's, again, no cost at all to anybody who's interested in being included. The conference is running over 2 days. It is Wednesday, August 18th, followed by Friday, August 20th. We wanted to keep it the same week that we had it on the previous year. And there's a Muslim holiday that Thursday. And so to be respectful to our Muslim colleagues, we thought it would be smarter to do it on the Wednesday and the Friday. So it'll be interesting. I've never run a conference with a day kind of off in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I want to just briefly share with everybody, we've got the Eventbrite here, but I want just for a moment to share with you what we have planned. Sorry, I just pulled the wrong one up. I apologize. Just give me a sec. Just some ideas on what we have in terms of the conference and what's going to be available. At this point, what I'm showing everyone is totally confidential. This is not public knowledge yet. So totally, thank you, Sharon. So just don't screenshot it and share it because it's not confirmed yet, but it'll give you an idea of the direction that we're going. So the way that the group that's working on this has put it together is we're creating opportunities for individual speakers, breakout sessions, and then we want to have a really powerful education leads panel. I had something happen personally where I'm not sure if anybody else was affected by this, but through all of our discussions about race and ethnicity and whatnot, we had a picture come out of our education system leads, and it shows the people that are in charge of the CSU system, the UC system, the community college system, and Department of Education. And it was exciting because it was for people of color. So it was great to see that, some people of color are holding these high positions and powerful positions. But one thing that was concerning to me personally was that all 4 of the education systems are led by men. And so I thought, wow. And it got me thinking, well, who are the women in education? And, who are the women that are rising? And, just kind of thinking about females in general. And so on this panel that we're doing, we're actually going to be inviting the female leads of our education system. So for instance, we're inviting Vice Chancellor Shinny Weber, who spoke at our last conference. We're going to be inviting also Vice Chancellor Daisy Gonzalez. We're inviting Deputy Superintendent Sarah Neville Morgan from Department of Education. We're inviting Marquita to come, and then we need to find a good person from the UC system. Last time we didn't have as high of a lead as I was hoping for. We did have a good person, so I don't want to make it seem like they weren't the right person, but I'm hoping to hopefully have one of the system leads. So in addition to having the panel, then we're going to get into different speakers, as I mentioned, and we're offering 15-minute speaker slots to specific agencies. So for instance, earlier this summer, I met with the CEO of NAEYC, and anybody who's in early childhood knows NAEYC. It's a huge group for early childhood education. I also would think it would be great to have somebody from Department of Ed. And just, anyway, so we have all these different speakers that we're lining up right now. We also are making sure that on both Wednesday and Friday, there is time allotted for a cross-system activity, because there was a lot of value in coming together across our systems and working together, in that space. When it comes to the breakouts, we have breakouts scheduled for day 1 and day 2. The first day, the breakouts are going to be a little longer. And right now, these are just the types of breakouts. These are not exactly sitting where they're going to end up being. So in terms of topics, we have got, CCC-TPP, PEACH, and Tri-CECE, plus the California Baccalaureate programs are going to come together and do a session on training California's early childhood workforce. Shannon from West Hills Lemoore is going to be doing a section on zero-cost textbook education pathways. Kathleen, this is not the right topic right now, or not the exact title, but Kathleen is going to be working with at least one, if not 2 colleagues from Centers of Excellence to give an update on California's teacher shortage and teacher occupations, because we want to make sure that we share some labor market data. I've been working with Ed Trust West for a couple months now, and they actually have given me 4 different possible sessions they could do for us. I'm having a very hard time choosing. I shared it with Rosemary yesterday. I'm like, Rosemary, what do you do when everything they proposed is awesome? We didn't do like an RFP too. This is all like us inviting groups or groups coming and saying, hey, can I please be included? I've asked if ACTEP could do something in partnership with some of the other agencies and do it on the EDU CID. So I'm hoping that can happen. We've got Colleen and CSU doing the power of partnerships. Colleen from Cerritos College. Then on the next day, we're looking at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Phyllis, who's one of their administrators, is going to do a session on reframing preparation for the early care workforce. We've also are in talks with Teach California to come and do a breakout session, and we've confirmed with CalSTRS. We're partnering really well with CalSTRS right now, and I highly encourage people, if you want to partner with CalSTRS, please let me know, because they are so awesome to partner with. It's like I email them and I'm like, hey, I'm wondering if you guys could do something, and literally it's like, hey, Renee, here's 6 workshops we're going to roll out for your people in the next 3 weeks. I mean, it's like they're so responsive, and really excited to partner. So if you're not working with CalSTRS yet and you would like to, please let me know, either at a campus or regional level, because they are so open door right now. It is awesome. And they're really easy to work with too, I have to say. They're just really nice. So then in our last breakout session, we're going to be doing something on apprenticeships and teacher preparation. The Bay Area is doing some really stellar work right now with apprenticeships and extended care and early childhood and TK through 12. And I truly believe that what the Bay Area is going to do will become the blueprint for apprenticeships and teacher preparation for our state. And so I want to make sure that they've got a platform here to share, especially because they're already in good shape right now. I can't wait to see, where they're at another month and a half from today. In addition, WestEd is interested in presenting on some of the work that they're doing in the early care workforce right now. And so I'm in talks with them about trying to kind of figure out exactly what piece of their projects that they're going to share with us in a breakout form, but I'm excited to partner with them. I think it'll be good. And then interesting, I originally did not have the COPs listed. And then through some conversations recently, it became really clear that we'd be missing an opportunity if we didn't have our COPs present. So I will see if they're available. And I have not at this point, but that's a group we're interested in as well. We also have a couple other groups here. I just want to point out, JSPAC is a group we normally partner with. And so I'm going to reach out to JSPAC and see if they would prefer to speak to everybody or to do a breakout session. And then there's another couple groups as well, like dual enrollment. Carla does some great stuff with dual enrollment, also Center for Teaching Careers. And so one of the things, last time we ran this conference, we had 6 breakout sessions each time we had a breakout. And now that we're virtual, I was limiting it to 3. We could go higher, but I also don't want to dilute the audience too much. So, but I just wanted to kind of throw it out there. What are your thoughts on kind of what's been happening with the planning so far? Are there any gaps, any opportunities that we're kind of missing that you know, just something that's not sitting right, or just any thoughts on what we're kind of rolling out so far?
You and I have already discussed this, so I don't have any other thoughts.
Totally.
Same
I'm
here.
like, okay, Rosemary, Yadira, Bobby, all
I
the
think you've already
people
talked to all
running all
these
the
people.
time. I try to just kind of, I'm really, anytime we try to produce something for TPP, I really try to make sure that what you're asking for is what we roll out. So based on, you know, the sketch of this is created based on some of what we had in the past, but also what we need moving forward.
Right.
And also what partnerships we want to highlight. Like right now, CTC and what Phyllis and her team is doing, and a lot of our people are serving on her committees, it makes sense that she's going to, you know, be one of the sessions. So any other gaps, or I love it that people are saying in the chat they appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that you mentioned that the lineup's good. But any other comments or thoughts about the upcoming conference? If by any chance there's a campus that has any extra funding available that would be willing to help with a $500 honorarium for one of the speakers, please let me know. We could have a discussion about it. If not, I will figure something out, but there's one speaker we're interested in bringing on who we need to pay a little bit. And so if anybody's got some extra funding and would consider entertaining that idea, please let me know and we can have a conversation. But any other thoughts about conference? We'll bring it up again next month, so that way if there's anything dangling, we can fix it before we go into the actual conference mode. But okay. Thank you. Now let me quickly go back on share screen. Okay, so then just a couple save the dates that I thought it'd be good for everybody to have. We've got our statewide conference coming up August 18th and 20th. CCC AOE is coming up in September and October. CCTE, the California Council for Teacher Education, which many of our groups partner with and some don't yet but might want to. They have a conference coming up in October as well. Proposals are not due till August 15th. So if you would consider writing a proposal for that, it would be awesome. And I know many of our TPP groups campuses would be there to support you. So if you write a CCTE proposal, please let us know so we can make sure we support you. Also wanted to remind everybody that ACTEP has their fall convening coming up on November 19th. And so at this point, I just put the link for the ACTEP page, but please know that I don't believe that it's posted yet. I couldn't find it on the website. So just know that that ACTEP convening will be coming later, and we'll email it out to everybody as well. We might even have it via email before it's on the website, but once we get it, we'll share it. So with that, we're at 125. Sorry I talked so much. Today was a lot of talking day, but just good information to share with everybody. You know, TPP, we still get knocked down here and there, but we're making progress. And most importantly, we're making impact. And so I'm excited to bring this conference because I think, once again, it will help to highlight what we do. It will help to bring us all together. And one of the most important things is really that cohesiveness and that partnership and, you know, increasing our reach in that area. Thank you, Leia, for mentioning the focus on women leadership and education with the conference. I know that's a little bit different, but as we're unpackaging, you know, all of these variables right now, why not gender as well? So that was my thinking on that. Plus, I love it's important that we elevate. And like, I don't know if anybody who knows Sarah Neville Morgan, like, she's so awesome. So I'm excited that, you know, I'm excited by some of these women that we're going to be asking to be there. I shouldn't say some, all of them, because they're really good role models and they're making good impact. So, so with that, I'll open the floor. Any last comments, questions, thoughts?
I know that Cal Poly, both the School of Ed and the Liberal Studies departments have been getting pressure from their administrations, which are also mine, I guess, and to take more of our transfer students. And just while we were having this meeting, EdSource just sent out, there's an article in EdSource about how hard it is for our transfer students. That's where my frustrations lie a lot. So I spend a lot of time thinking about facilitating transfer or degree completion. I think this is a really, like, I think the timing of this conference is crucial, and that we should, I really want to get the word out to as many different four-year universities that we can, because, for example, San Jose State just started an amazing fully online degree completion that doesn't even, they don't care what the AA is, as long as it covers the GEs, which speaks well to our ADT, which no one else wants to seem to take, but that would fill those roles. And then something that, and then there's a lot on another slightly different subject, the CSET-CBEST situation is sort of up in the air right now, and that could really help our students, but it could also cause a lot of confusion. So I just got an email from Sherry about being on that CID committee.
Oh, great.
Which, of course, as usual, I have no idea what I'd be doing, but I'm going to try to get on that because they're calling for members to review CIDs. I don't know if it's I don't think it's the same one necessarily, but anyhow, so Steve Bautista has really been doing some strategizing on the CBEST CSET thing. He and I were both on the CTC meeting on Friday and have been talking to Kate about that. So we're really pushing to have a voice in that space. So hopefully.
Have you seen any traction with RICA? Like, I felt like there was all this discussion about RICA, and then it went silent, and it's all this CBEST CSET. And don't get me wrong,
I think it's
I
easier
believe
to
that the CSET, the CSET needs reform.
I think I mean, RICA's in part of, like, that's part of the discussion, is all of the standardized tests and how, you know, they're not, I don't know. I also got a little peaked when I saw that part of the consideration for replacing the exams is the fact of how much kickback the commission gets from the registration fees. And so they're going to end up having to raise credential fees to make up for that, which is totally 1000%. I won't say it because we're being recorded, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So I thought that was really interesting that that's literally in the consideration. I mean, if there's not more obvious evidence. One of my cohort mates actually did her dissertation on the RICA and replacing it. And was it something that was useful? I think they're still talking about it. It's such a disastrous problem especially for our bilingual candidates. So I'm hoping that's next on the list, but I think the CSET and the CBEST are easier to address because there's already, you know, like Steve points out in our ADT, all the equivalencies are there. And for CBEST, I mean, you can already pass, you know, take care of that with an SAT or an ACT score. So they're just going to expand what would be included. But Steve's really pushing for us, as in community colleges, to have a voice in what courses are approved. So that's where it's messy, but this could go into effect July 1st, not next July 1st, this July 1st. So I've just been letting students know to just keep their ears and eyes open if they're ready, if they're in that space where they're supposed to be taking the exam, because I don't want them to take an exam that they don't need.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't want them to delay taking it if it's gonna, because that's the other thing. This is only an emergency thing. But again, we've been told that they wouldn't be presenting it the way it is if it's kind of like a test run for what they know they want to do. But it is still concerning. And that's the other thing we need to express, is if this is only going to be in place for a year, we don't want to have this cohort of candidates that are left hanging. So I think we just need to keep, like, I've still got my CBEST test prep workshop on the calendar for the fall. But I think just let's keep our ears and eyes open on that.
Yeah, definitely. One of my goddaughter right now took the RICA for the 4th time. And I'm like, you realize you're in student teaching, there's all these flexibilities. And she looked at me and she's like, Aunt Renee, if it's not canceled, and there's just flexibilities, it means I have to do it at some point. And I'm like, oh gosh, you just watch somebody struggle with it and you're like, I think the most frustrating thing is you're simultaneously watching people struggle with the assessments and then watching as articles are coming out saying the massive shortages that they're having due to the pandemic and how they're going to have to hire all these underqualified people and out of category people for their credentials. And it's like, really? Why do we still have all these barriers up? So let's keep working on that and let's stay connected as we know what's happening. And anytime there's an opportunity to get on a committee or anything like that, either if you can't share it broad, at least share it so it's on the radar for us. And it could be, hey, FYI, everybody, this really isn't open, but I want to let you know that it's happening right now. You know,
Yeah, I'll send you that thing because it went out, the call for the CID thing, CID reviewers. So I can send you that. It came from Sherry. So
okay, that'd be great.
Or it's an academic Senate thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the month. Going into July, I hope everybody's able to take some time to relax and just, get ready for another one. It'll be a good school year. But everybody have a great rest of the day and a great rest of the week. And if we can be a resource, do not hesitate to reach out. If for some reason you don't have my cell, let me know and I'd be happy to give it to you. But if we can be a resource, we're here to help. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a great day and take care. It's great to see you today.
Bye.